In one of my recent videos, I basically said that Aether Vial is an unplayable legacy card. So obviously today, I'm going to play Aether Vial. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another legacy video, and today Chen has asked me to play Dogwise Taxes. That is a traditional 60-card D&T deck list featuring Phelia, Exuberant Shepherd, as well as Samwise the Stouthearted. And I want to talk about Legacy and Death and Taxes specifically, and I am recording this video on December 12th. By the time most of you see this video, there will have been a ban announcement in Legacy. And this is a really big deal for Death and Taxes in particular. Death and Taxes within the current Legacy metagame is really suffering against all of the fast combo decks that are running around. Generally speaking, it can't keep up with all of them at the same time, and is especially struggling versus the Nadu deck lists. So, something like what I'm playing today is likely to be much more viable by the time this video reaches you all than it is at the time of recording. So if I just get my face punched in by 4 or 5 combo decks today, we knew this was coming. Generally speaking, most people right now, when they play D&T, play a Yorion build. A lot of people are splashing one or more colors right now for things like Magus of the Moon, or maybe Orcish Bowmasters, or Thoughtseize, in an attempt to combat the various things that are going on in metagame. One of those big things being very powerful non-basic lands, your Eldrazi Temples, Eye of Ugin's Ancient Tombs, all of that stuff, as well as Urza's Saga. And a traditional 60-card mono-white D&T deck list has both Rishadan and Wasteland in order to help out with those things. In terms of evaluating this specific deck list, I think it's a little greedy. Death and Taxes is usually a 23 land deck in a 60-card variant, and this is doing 22 with 8 colorless sources. I think that means that casting white cards on curve is going to be very tough. I also think that this deck is trying to be a Samwise deck without fetch lands, and I think the fetch lands are really one of the things that powers up this deck list quite a bit. So those are some major things that I don't like about the deck list. In terms of the sideboard, I think the sideboard is okay, but slow. You know, we are living in one of the fastest Legacy formats that I've ever seen, and the average CMC of the cards in the sideboard here is greater than, is 2 or greater. So I don't think that is the best in terms of attacking the specific problems that are going on in this metagame right now. So I'm going to make a few changes. I wasn't planning on it when I started recording the video, but we're going to do some tiny tweaks. All right, with some minor tweaks, I think we're going to submit this. So we're just going to lower the average CMC of the sideboard a little bit, inserting some things like Fairy Macabre and Grafdigger's Cage in place of Containment Priest, adding an extra Deafening Silence, and turning some of the expensive cards like Cataclysm into things that can interact ever so slightly earlier in the game. Matchup spread will change a little bit, but I think this is going to give us a better deck overall. To help out with the Samwise plan, I'm going to add in a couple copies of fetch lands, as well as one surveil land that I can find. You could split these fetch lands if you want. You could play the black one of these. You could technically cast a Fairy Macabre. I guess you'd have to be playing 2 of them in order for that to be possible. But this is probably fine for our purposes. So let's go get our butt kicked by some combo decks. And folks, a ban just happened for you all when you see this video. If you need any cards for the new metagame, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAmagic.com. They are a great store. Promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order. If you're going to be going to a major event that's coming up, such as MagicCon Chicago, you can also place an order online and pick it up on site. And let me tell you, it's super convenient. With that being said, let's battle. Bill from the future here. My recommended round for this league is easily round 4 versus Discord regular Ruthless Ocelot. It is a very intricate game with a lot of difficult decisions. Enjoy the show. All right, we have an okay opening hand. Underground Sea is a scary land. Thoughtseize I don't so much care about. My hand is pretty redundant. I have 3 mana sources, I have a bunch of 2-drops, I can wasteland my opponent to set them back. We don't exactly know what deck they are going to be on yet. Underground Sea Thoughtseize is pretty generic. Like, we don't know if this is a combo deck or some fair deck until we see that happen, at which point we assume that our opponent is playing something fairer. They care about Mother of Runes. And I think we just restart this game. Like, there is some consideration to not removing that land and just saying, I am just going to make land drops and make sure that my spells resolve later on. Like, I think that is a perfectly valid way to approach this game. But I think trying the free roll is fine, given how many lands I do already have. Surveil land. And opponent likes it, unfortunately for us. Second land. Don't do it. Fuck, they did it. Alright. So, Psychic Frog is better than basically every creature that exists within my deck. That probably means that I need to threaten Stoneforge, Aldra, or something like that. I don't think I am going to sweat trying to get an additional land back later. I think I'm just going to not get wastelanded here. I fully do not believe that what I am about to do is going to work. It could be a reason to pick up pre-war Formalwear, but I think if I get pre-war Formalwear, my opponent just like does not need to respond to that, and they just punch me in the face with Psychic Frog. So I think I'm going to go ahead and pick up Cauldra still. Psychic Frog is just so very warping on games. Yeah, alright, so we get pushed. That was expected based on Mother of Runes being taken early on in the game. Alright, basics confirmed. God damn it. Sure. A Ganjo dealing 4 damage to one of these is not necessarily going to be a good thing. Like, I can just force my opponent to dump cards into it, but I can't remove it afterwards as follow-up. That's not great. I will nuke a Surveil land, so you can't reuse it later if Daze happens. And I'll just chill here and get beaten to death by frogs. Wasteland doesn't matter too much. Like, when my opponent plays cards and cards come out of hand, that is good for me. It gives me hope of answering Psychic Frogs, but then this shit happens, and I am just immediately out of a Ganjo range again. So, do you have more than 2 basics? May not get to find out. I think we are seeing a double Daze. Oh no, opponent just wants to take their land that could be destroyed out of play. Nope, I'm wrong. It is double Daze. Okay. Well, taking away their Surveil land so they couldn't use it again looks smart now. So, what I would like to see before I die is another threat. Like, I would like to see just 100% confirmation that my opponent is on Dimir tempo, and if I see something like a Nether Goyf or a Murktide Regent, I will probably get what I am looking for here. I'm going to go Flooded Strand pass, and I can flash in a Samwise on my opponent's turn. There comes that island again. So we're just going to go ahead and fetch. I think I will look for a Swords to Plowshares type card. Nope. I'm going to do this now to see if my opponent reacts to it. I will get back one of my Flooded Strands. Okay, opponent does react to it. So I think the Bowmasters is enough of an indication that we are playing against a tempo variant rather than a Reanimator variant. And now my opponent's going for blood. Yeah, I was just never actually playing Magic here. Just very dead as soon as Psychic Frog came down. Alright, so I want Path to Exile. I want the Battle of Bywater, as well as Split Up as additional removal. I don't think it is crazy to play something like Rest in Peace. You know, it is likely to hit some ancillary creature, be that Murktide Regent or Nether Goyf. So what's bad? What don't I want? It is unclear to me that it is worth spending mana on Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, if I am trying to cast 3 mana removal spells. That might actually work against me. I think Thalia is weak. I think Samwise is pretty weak here as well. What's worse, Samwise or Thalia? Samwise, question mark? Or do I just do that? And then, like, I can rip with Samwise gone without caring. I go down to 20 creatures while playing an Aether Vial deck. That's not the best if I do this. I could also just do something that looks like this. Care about Aether Vial slightly less. That's a 5-card hand. No? Sure. I think if I keep this one, I keep just all the white sources and get rid of Wasteland. Just try to actually resolve my spells. I don't think I surveil on turn 1. I think I just don't let myself be open to Wasteland. Okay, it's just a fetch land to end passing. The thing that I would do in this turn cycle is somewhat likely to just get dazed. I don't hate end of my opponent's turn Phelia, and try to resolve a more important 2-drop around daze. I could fetch right here, but then my opponent knows it's coming. I think I'm just going to let this go. Reason to potentially play Phelia right there is so that daze never counters it. But if they know to fatal push it, the impact of it is lessened. I think it's pretty clearly telegraphed, but people miss stuff. Brainstorm's fine. Okay, looks like we're chilling. In which case, let's go ahead and flop this down and see if my opponent wants to respond to this. Not immediately, at least. Sure. Let's attempt to blow up a land. Attempt to blow up the sewers. Opponent gets a basic island. So are we getting Fatal Push for my Phelia now? No, the more costly Dismember. Okay, that's fine. But now probably at my next opportunity, I'll cast Rest in Peace if I'm not in immediate danger. I'd like to clear this out. You know, threats like Murktide Regent can come down. I would like to stop that from happening if possible. Yeah, this is why we Rest in Peace. So I can turn this into a 0-1 if I resolve Rest in Peace. So hopefully that happens. If an enchantment sticks versus a blue-black deck, that's usually around forever. Ooh, okay, we lose. So my opponent now outpaces me. They have a Death Touch lifelink creature that draws them a card and helps to fill the graveyard. And I am spending 2 mana tapping one of their lands that they don't need. So when the blue decks have these creatures that connect and give an overwhelming advantage, you know, your Ragavans and such, especially when they are efficiently costed, it is just bad news for the decks that look like mine. How big are you currently? 5-6. Cool. Combat. And in for 2. Opponent is at 12. Cast an Apparition. Yeah. Cool. This for Schadenport doesn't fucking matter. I'm gonna do this. Okay. That's inefficient mana-wise as an answer to this, but, you know, it's an attempt. My opponent gains more life than they have lost. Going back up to 16. Healing 5. Oh, God. You can just get another one. Cool. So, I can split up and kill one of those. Or I can try to chump block, take 5, let my opponent maybe draw 2 cards, and then try to cast Split Up to get multiple of those at the same time. I believe that I am just going to die if they have 2 of these. I'm going to try to get both. This is an exceptionally greedy play. Wait, hold on. Now they're 5-6s? 5-6? I guess I could split up, block, deal first strike damage, discard. Fuck, it costs 3 mana. No, I can't. Yeah, so I can't split up and do the other one. Okay, yeah. So let's greed it up. Yeah, I'll still tap down a land here. Oh, I'm just dead then. All right. We did not really play Magic that round. We just got buried by Psychic Frog and Goyf. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is just the best place to keep your online deck lists. And one of the things that I love about them is that you can use it to keep track of what cards you do and don't have for a deck. So for example, in this deck list, I have all of the cards, so there are nice blue bubbles filled in here, and that's automatically ported over to your collection tab, where you can see exactly what cards you do and don't have. All right. We have kind of a mediocre opening hand here. All right. So Thalia is good. Wasteland is good. I am not sure that what I am doing is going to be fast enough to keep up with my opponent's deck, though. So the hope is that I Wasteland this and they stumble, but the Ancient Tomb has done the thing that it is designed to do already. If my opponent puts something like a Burgi into play, I have a Solitude for that. Otherwise, we just have to hope that they can't go off for a couple of turns, and I do get Thalia into play. Reckless Impulse. Sure. Forget the timings of all of these. All right, until the end of your next turn. So unfortunately, we don't get to accelerate stuff out here. So if my opponent can have a big turn this turn, you know, they've got it. It's kind of funny that, you know, many years ago, this was just like the premier hate bear of Legacy. And now it just feels unplayable because the format is so fast. Like, there is some real chance that I lose on turn 3 through interaction. There's some confusion or something going on over there. My opponent has undone mana a couple of times. Alright, there is Desperate Ritual. There's another Desperate Ritual. There must have been some splice onto Arcane confusion or something. When you have multiple of these, you can add the effects onto other ones. My opponent was trying to probably splice from exile, which does not work because this is you can reveal the card from your hand and pay its splice cost. Or no, that should work, right? If one was in their hand to cast an arcane spell. Yeah, they should have been able to splice. Oh, but they had 2 mana, right? Okay, so that must have been the source of confusion. All right, there is Wish. There's Past in Flames. So now my opponent can cast all of these various spells out of their graveyard, starting with Manamorphose. And we're probably going to see a pair of Desperate Rituals. We do. I think my opponent already just has the option to make a bunch of goblins pass the turn and kill me. Okay, so my opponent is casting a Jessica's Will targeting me for mana. I think I'm going to deny my opponent 2 mana by evoking a Solitude. It adds 1 to the storm count, but takes 2 away from mana. And it has the upside that I can F6 the remainder of this turn. And note that Solitude cannot choose itself here. So my opponent ends up with 9 mana here. They still have Reckless Impulse and Wish. And Reckless Impulse hits Reckless Impulse. I'm going to start narrating relevant plays because I think we're kind of in garbage time. Alright, my opponent has cast a Fiery Confluence targeting my face, bringing me to 14. And then Grape Shot is going to finish me off here with a storm count of 20. So, Deafening Silence, good. Grafdigger's Cage does things technically. I'm not overly excited about it, and kind of same is true for Rest in Peace, Kataki, Lauren. Barry technically does stuff as well. So we can decide how much we want to be able to hedge against something like Bergie or Ral in terms of like leaving in Solitudes and Swords to Plowshares versus just taking those cards out of the deck because they do nothing versus the combo side of my opponent's deck. I think I don't Swords, but I do Solitude. Solitude can occasionally attack, and I should have plenty of excess white cards in my hand in the average game. I think I don't expect my stuff to die for the most part. I get rid of pre-war Formalwear, keep 2 other pieces of equipment. Aldra is the one that puts pressure on the game. If I already have a soft lock, Batterskull just makes it much harder for my opponent to win. You know, a couple of connections with a Batterskull or a Solitude can reasonably change the math. I don't think Aether Vial is particularly strong. I think I'm going to be tapping out for other things in the early turns. Like, I think Mom and Deafening Silence are both better turn 1 plays than Vial is. Kataki can do some things versus a Ruby Medallion or Treasure Tokens. Technically, it's not exciting. So I like Ya, and then we fill with 4 of these, I guess. Let's do the ones that fuck with Past in Flames, I guess. I don't know, maybe we do Fairy for free interaction, then play Kataki. I don't know, maybe Fairy isn't enough. Maybe I need to nuke the entire graveyard and not just a critical part. The issue is that like the Past in Flames lines can just be played around so easily. We're basically looking for turn 1 Deafening Silence in this matchup. So this is turn 2 Thalia on 5. I don't think I accept that on 5. I think I go to 4. I don't know, maybe it's fine. It would just be like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Ugh. I think I have to have Deafening Silence for a game where I am on the draw, though. The problem with Thalia is that Thalia just breaks even versus a Ruby Medallion. Thalia here also makes it so that it's a little harder to cast some of my own spells in the future, especially if I do Wasteland. But I would love to Wasteland an Ancient Tomb if possible. Nope. So we're chilling. I can keep Caracas up to defend Thalia. I don't think I am going to do that. I think I just need more pressure on board. I think we are going to slightly awkwardly White Orchid Phantom one of our own lands to just turn Caracas into a non-legendary basic plains. Like so. So then next turn, I can Rest in Peace to shut off the graveyard. We just kind of hope that our opponent flounders and does nothing in the face of Athalia. I don't think that's realistic. It may take a 2-turn sequence. You know, it could be Burning Wish into any number of things that destroy creatures. Past in Flames. Yes. So my opponent goes to 14. Then I will go ahead and take out that Past in Flames. And now for the remainder of the game, I will probably keep the ability to bounce Thalia up. There is thinking happening. So there is a play available. Okay, so this is the Fair Reckless Impulse. All right, there is Ral Monsoon Mage, which is a legendary creature. So we have Caracas that helps out with that already. So that's nice. More other Thalia does not do a lot. Although now it becomes less important to protect Thalia from fair removal. 4th land drop. Ral notably is not taxed by Thalia. There's the Ral. My opponent puts another spell on the stack. I can just bounce Ral in response. All right, so there is a Rite of Flame. So I think I go ahead and just take this opportunity to bounce that creature out of play. Let's just not give my opponent more value off of that than I have to. They can put it back into play if they want, but that takes the mana that the Rite of Flame was going to give them in the first place. Manamorphose. That's mana negative. That is not mana neutral with Thalia in play. Oh wow, and nothing to do with the 2 mana beyond that. That means that this Reckless Impulse is going away. Damn. This Thalia is doing more work than I expected it would. I think we are having an above average Thalia game here. So there is an actual factual wish. Or Blast Zone. So I just Wasteland that. Like, I just Wasteland that, and then you can't sweep all of my 2-drops. Yeah, I can just ignore this Batter Skull. That's a trap. It does not change my clock. My opponent still has to answer both of my creatures. They are at 1. Seething Song, +1 mana, and then conceding. I more or less like how we've sideboarded. I could consider the fairies when I'm on the draw to be slightly better versus Past in Flames. I think on the draw it's reasonable to do this, or alternatively play a couple of Swords to Plowshares to be better versus past the turn Ral lines. But also, like, I could get rid of Batter Skull as well. That's probably fine. This is not a deck where I expect them to be able to take pieces of equipment, so just having 1 to tutor for is okay. Overwhelmingly, we are looking for Deafening Silence here. All right, we've got it. This is Deafening Silence into Thalia, hopefully into Mom and Thalia if first Thalia gets answered. This is about the best we can do here. We will get rid of a Caracas. Ancient Tomb, Ruby Medallion. Enjoy Deafening Silence. I don't conceptually know what my opponent's plan is to answer Deafening Silence. I imagine that there is some wish target or other that they can Manamorphose and get rid of it. I'm not familiar enough with the Ruby Storm list in its current iteration to just know this is what I should expect. I will Thalia. And if I get a little more mana, I can Skyclave this Ruby Medallion before it does anything impressive. Burning Wish. Oh, I guess they showed me counter with the land with a counter on it. Blast Zone. Blast Zone answers Deafening Silence. That's the plan. Opponent has chosen Fiery Confluence. So Fiery Confluence can nuke a bunch of creatures at the same time. So I kind of have a choice about how I can play this out. I can try to dodge mana for 1 turn and just like take out Ruby Medallion. I don't think I have to protect Caracas. I give my opponent a vanilla 2/2, which I can very easily check. I guess Ruby Medallion reduces the cost of this by 1 already, so I shouldn't try to dodge on mana. Means playing out Mom doesn't make sense. I could play out Phelia with Flash. I could also just Skyclave, take out the Ruby Medallion, let my opponent have the 2/2. I think that's fine. It's a little weird if they then don't cast the Fiery Confluence because I deny this mana, but if that happens, I hit in for 4 more damage, which is okay. And like, if they cast it this turn, I just replay a Thalia and put my opponent back into a bad situation. So my opponent goes into the tank, casts a Manamorphose off Ancient Tomb, casts a Ral. My opponent has cast their 1 non-creature spell for Deafening Silence, though. So, this is where we go mana denial mode. So we Caracas, bounce the Ral out of play. Combat, bash in for 4. Opponent goes to 12 and then 10. I believe that I cast a Mother of Runes. I'll talk about why in a second. And then I pass the turn. I Rishadan down Ancient Tomb. So the reason I cast Mother of Runes is that this turns this into a 2-turn clock, hit for 5 and then 10, and we can do that while bouncing my opponent's Ral out of play and continuing to Rishadan them. And we win that one. Looking at the time disparity here, I think my opponent was inexperienced. I do not feel like we should have won this matchup as easily as we did. Alright, I have a medium opening hand here. I'm not overly excited about it, but it's fine. We have Mom into Stoneforge or Mom into White Orchid Phantom. Opponent just playing basic island. So that gives me the indication that they probably have a bunch of basic lands, meaning that White Orchid Phantom is not likely to do much of anything reasonable. So I think what this game comes down to is, like, does this Stoneforge do anything relevant? And if I can't do something like ride Stoneforge for Cauldron to victory, I think we just kind of lose this game based on the matchup lottery. Oh, this is very different than what I was expecting. This is show and tell. So if my opponent puts in a creature, I can be in very good shape here. If they put in an Omniscience, this is scarier. I could try to hold a Solitude, but I think if an Omniscience gets into play, I probably lose. I don't think I have the pressure required to beat Omniscience. So I think I'm going to try to high roll here and put Solitude into play in a way that it cannot be countered. Okay, cool. So I get to Solitude and Atraxa, but my opponent gets to refuel. Notably on Spell Pierce. Yeah, they're just going to get another show and tell. My opponent might be mono blue. Okay, so they did not choose another show and tell. Ponder, Ancient Tomb, Cunning Wish. So I probably don't need to hold Mother of Runes back here. I think denying raw mana amount is correct here. There is an argument to just play Stoneforge and try to get my opponent dead as quickly as possible and make them tap multiple Ancient Tombs. But raw mana amount can matter. Oh, it's just another show and tell already. Well, fuck. Logically speaking, I think my opponent has another creature. I think if they had the Omniscience that was happening last turn, they would have had to just naturally spike the Omniscience as their card for turn. I think they had the show and tell already because they did not take another show and tell. So I think I put Stoneforge Mystic in to get Cauldron. Well, fuck me. Okay, Omniscience was the draw for turn. Sucks to be me. In which case we wanted to put the Surveil land in, I think. Cauldron over pre-war Formalwear. So now my opponent just has, like, Cunning Wish based lines that very easily win the game. So this is going to get shared summons. Oh, okay. That's a different art Omniscience. Anime Waifu Omniscience. And then it's Emrakul Archon. Emrakul annihilates all my stuff. Yep. Okay. My opponent had 2 copies of Omniscience, so last turn they could have cast an Omniscience and just won. So, yeah. That's where we're at. Deafening Silence, reasonable. Lauren, reasonable. Split Up and Battle of the Bywater, technically playable. Not exciting. I think if I keep Swords and Solitude, that's enough. I don't think I need these. I think I'm looking for 4 cuts. Batterskull seems unplayable. Pre-war Formalwear seems unnecessary. That just leaves me with Cauldron. And I think that's fine. Mother of Runes is probably not particularly important. My creatures are bad in this matchup. Like, my creatures exist to turn sideways, not to protect from bounce spells. Like, what am I protecting? Thalia? Yeah, that's not great. Skyclave Apparition is also very weak, actually. That can probably go. Is this fine? This might not be fine. I don't think this disrupts my opponent. Hold on, did I not board out Skyclave? Oh, I just have 3 of them. Okay, that's fine. Let's mulligan this. Okay. Well, it I guess has a path to victory. The issue here is that my opponent is probably monocolored, meaning that these aren't always going to hit Ancient Tombs. The red-white, this hand is... Sorry, if they're red-blue, this is stronger. I don't know that I can keep a 0-threat hand that is trying to lean on Wasteland. I think I'm going to try to run hotter than this. Did not succeed. We'll go to 4 rather than keep this. This is very bad. All right, well, on 4, we're keeping a bad hand. So would I like to keep Vile or Mom? I'm going to keep Solitude as something to put in off a show and tell. I can keep Mom. It can attack for 1. I can keep Vile. Vile's not doing a lot. I could keep this land. Expose myself to Blood Moon. All right. Well, I guess if I want to play the Mom on turn 1 rather than Surveil. Yeah. All right. Unhappy about this. I can port until I find something to do that's better with my better to do with my mana. But yeah, basic lands good against what I am doing here. The aggro Mom does not feel good, especially considering that Solitude is a major plan for me. I don't know that that Brainstorm was supposed to happen in upkeep versus just happening at my end step for mana efficiency. Alright, I lose the Solitude. They have a secondary color, that's good to know. Mom Beatdown continues. We'll be attacking blue mana here. Blue mana casts the sorcery speed cantrips like Ponder, but it fully feels like I am not in this game. Although my opponent is miraculously at 14 life already. That's not great for me. I do have an Aganjo. Oh, Archives Recruiter? We're not Flicker Wisping, right? We are not Flicker Wisping, unfortunately. I'll say Recruiter is an above average draw. So this can deal 4 damage to this Tameo. So I think I stop Rashad importing my opponent, which will give them a window to cast Show and Tell. But you cannot let these spiraling Psychic Frogs and Tameos and Barogoyfs just run out of control. Yeah, I know. We talked about this. They know. There's Omniscience. There's Cunning Wish, and we can concede. GG's. All right, we're playing against one of the Discord regulars here, Ruthless Ocelot. This is a pretty good opening hand. So we are hoping that our opponent is playing something fair here, so that this Aether Vial has time to tick up. I potentially can get a lot of value out of this vial. Like I have 2-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop here. I can interact with my opponent via Swords and Wasteland. Like I have things to do with my mana other than just deploy these creatures. Marsh Flats. So the Discord has been working on energy stuff quite a bit. So I would not be surprised to see something of that nature here, like the Ocelot Pride, Ruthless Ocelot Pride. There's a pattern, sort of stuff. All right. So this is almost the ideal turn for us. I can't. Now I don't have to show Wasteland. That's actually very good. So I think we are okay just swordsing this creature. I'm going to think about it for a second. Like, is there a world where I want to cast one of these other ones instead? Nah, I think I just want to interact. I don't want to cast Stoneforge Mystic and then my opponent removes my creature, gets in with Ocelot Pride, and goes wide of what I'm doing. I just want to keep the board as clear as possible to let Aether Vial do its thing. Another Marsh Flats. So seeing the second Marsh Flats make me think that this is going to be a Black Splash build. This could be for Orcish Bowmasters. That's a good thing with Guide of Souls, as it produces 2 bodies. Ooh, it is another basic Plains, though. Into a Stoneforge Mystic. Now, this is fine, because I can Skyclave their Stoneforge Mystic while playing my own Stoneforge Mystic. I am hoping that they don't have something like Umazawa's Jitte to obliterate my small creatures. Most of them don't. Current Legacy is much more about trying to end the game rather than control a game for a prolonged period of time. Recruiter. I'm going to just take a quick look at my 2-drops here to see if anything is fantastic off Recruiter. Phelia is pretty cool for a little bit later, but I think I am into just removing Stoneforge immediately. Goodbye. Now there's a Cauldra stuck in my opponent's hand. I will hopefully put in my own Cauldra in the next turn cycle. And I can Recruiter the Guard for whatever it is I need to keep this game going. Phelia would be cool for blink value. And maybe Recruiter for Recruiter if we feel like we have that degree of time to durdle. I'm unsure that we do. Red. Okay, so like Amped Raptor and Friends could be a thing now. Broadside. Yeah. So, how badly do I want to hit my opponent in the face? Because I can just double block here. Like, I can put in White Orchid Phantom, double block. Or no, actually, this is first strike. This is very good value for me. because there's literally nothing else on board to throw, and this is another. I'll put in White Orchid Phantom. I'll blow up the plateau. Ooh, cheeky Solitude. I'm very glad that that's not eating my Stoneforge Mystic, though. Okay, good play by my opponent. So they can junk Skyclave here, get a token. Okay, so they're going to throw the Solitude at my face instead. Sure. Then they can throw this token next turn, and now I don't have two things to block this anymore. Now we resolve the destruction of the plateau, and there is a basic mountain in there. But we're seeing marsh flats and not arid mesas. So my opponent might actually have 3 colors in their deck. This might be Mardu. And I specifically saw 2 marsh flats. So I have multiple Skyclaves. If I feel like Broadside is a problem, I just tick up this file and go Recruiter for Skyclave, eat this, attack for 2, or even hold this creature back, and then just plan on winning with Stoneforge later. I think that seems fine. I'm unsure if that is land or removal. So Recruiter comes in, say yes. Still fine with Skyclave, I think. Skyclave, the Broadside. I think I get to hold this for at least 1 turn before I make the decision. I'm not the beatdown right now, but I hit in chunks of 5 with Cauldra. So dealing 3 points of damage over the next couple of turns does matter. I think I am going to still take this attack, despite the fact that I am not currently the beatdown. Put my opponent to 16. Lage. Targeting Recruiter. That is interesting to me. Recruiter, in my opinion, was the worst card on my board. I don't actually have a Yorion to just make sure that that is going to get blinked later on, and I'm not even running Flicker Wisps. My opponent doesn't know that last part, though. Yeah, I'm going to take this hit. I have to be a little careful. I would like to find a way to answer this Flage. Math time. So I've used 2 Skyclaves, and I've used 1 Recruiter. I have 2 3-drops in deck and 2 Solitudes beyond that. It is significantly harder for me to cast a Solitude. I'm going to work this towards 5. I think at this point this becomes a land. All Mom. I should attack first. My opponent is playing Solitude. Staying beatdown. I'm staying beatdown. My opponent needs a red land specifically in a deck that might be 3 colors. And hopefully I dodge the Flage for a turn. I could pre-war Formalwear on this board rather than Cauldra. Cauldra gets stuck in hand. Pre-war Formalwear gets another Recruiter, which finds Solitude. Yeah, pre-war Formalwear. Ooh, that is a scary card. I could double block the token to prevent my opponent from throwing it, trading either Mom or Stoneforge for what's going on over there, and prevent 2 direct damage from happening. I think I like that. It's a little weird, but I kind of think that's where we're at right now. If my opponent lets combat damage go through, they don't get to throw this anymore. And like, I care about my number of life points greatly because of this Flage, which I was intending on answering with Solitude, but now I might need to answer Broadside with it instead. This is a very intricate game. This one is fun. That is Broadside throwing at face here. Okay, yep. So I saved myself 2 points of life. Now, Vial gets to go up to 5. White Orchid Phantom doesn't do anything here. I could cast it as a 2/2, actually, at the cost of some number of points of combat damage. Attack, attack, cast, put in. Hold back Mom as protection, I think. All right, send it. Opponent's at 11. I think I do this at sorcery speed. Put in the Recruiter. Yes, pick up Solitude. And now that I've used this mana, I can White Orchid Phantom and thin a land from my deck. So now I also can Solitude one of my creatures and gain 3 life if I believe that that is a correct thing to do. And I can just, for 3 mana, move pre-war Formalwear on my turn to be attacking for 5 with a Solitude. Oh, okay. Why? So my opponent is playing that to be a 1 mana red card for Ajani. Okay, that makes sense. You may have that 1 damage. You may have this. Opponent does not have second red source for Flage yet. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, plus 3, 14 through 1 blocker. Okay, yeah, so there's a Ajani. This game is very much not over yet. Ajani Planeswalker side is very scary right now. Wastelands, whatever. Broadside is still the problem. The most immediate problem, that is. So we'll take that out. I don't think I am swinging lethal this turn. Now my opponent will draw a card. They junk that Cauldron that I know that they've been holding for a while. Now we got to do some things and stuff. Stays on 5 for the rest of the game. Phelia is gas. Is this 3 to equip? Oh, this is 3 to equip. I cannot cast Phelia and move pre-war Formalwear like I would like to. Casting Phelia is very, very good. Blinking this Solitude is so strong. Is this white? This is white. Okay, so I can't give my Solitude pro-white and crashing with pre-war Formalwear through these cats, which was going to be my plan. So I am sweating this Ajani 0 here, combined with a Flage cast. If I keep my Solitude alive, I just blink it next turn with Phelia, but then I can't do anything else with my mana. I guess that's fine. I think I need to put some pressure on. I don't think I can attack with this. If I attack with this, I open up transforming this, which I don't really want to do. I think we're just going to go 4 in the air, not Wasteland, my opponent's Wasteland, and pass turn. That's a Stoneforge Mystic. The Cauldron is gone. Chainsaw. That doesn't hit me, right? Alright, so that's 3 damage to up to 1 target creature. Okay, cool. Ooh, they could chainsaw their own Ajani, or sorry, their own cat token. Fuck. Alright. Okay, targeting Mom. The Mom will save Mom. Then the combat step gets a little weird. I guess another way to play my previous turn was just equip pre-war Formalwear to White Orchid Phantom, bash in, and just say, like, I'm going to have you dead in the air the following turn. That might have been a better way to play my own turn. Okay. So now we do all the permutations of what can happen with this Ajani. So I kill this. My opponent controls 2 creatures. They have 3 creatures. They can deal 3 direct damage to a creature. Potentially my Solitude. I can just take this hit. Can I just take this hit and swing for lethal? Just blink one of my opponent's creatures out of play. I have 4 in the air. This potentially get blocked. I would have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I think I just kill my opponent. And then hopefully there is not just... No, there can't be red land plus lightning bolt. Yeah. I think I have lethal. So cast Phelia. There can't be a Solitude here. And an Aganjo. I will move pre-war Formalwear to something that is guaranteed to get through here. And then shove everything sideways. Phelia blinks out a blocker. We get a block on 2 creatures here. And I deal way past lethal damage. Very meaty game. So I like Path to Exile here. Split up and Battle of the Bywater have some text. I wonder if I read too much into Marsh Flats early in that game. Lauren maybe does stuff. I don't know that Kataki does stuff. I think I'm always going to end up playing Lauren. So generally speaking, in a lot of these white creature mirrors, the first thing that I do is cut Thalia, but my opponent is just playing a bunch of smaller creatures like Ocelot Pride that do have first strike. I guess Thalia just trades with Ocelot Pride rather than doing better against it, like something like Stoneforge Mystic might. This is also an X1. I think I want split up. I think I'm still going to cut the Thalias. I think this is my 4 for 4. This is a good hand. I hope that I do not have to remove a creature on turn 1. Like, I don't need to remove a Voldaren Epicure, for example, but I do need to remove a Guide of Souls or Ocelot Pride. My opponent says last game they were really hoping for that land for Flage, and they just didn't get it. Yeah, no, that game gets a lot scarier. If that's not a Wasteland, and that is a red-white land of some nature. Alright, Surveil Land time. The mana base, like, can't support Flage and Wasteland and Black, right? I think it was just coincidence that I happened to see 2 Marsh Flats early on in that previous game. I mean, mathematically, I don't know that the mana base supports Flage plus Wasteland. That That's a lot to ask from a mana base. Ajani. So I could address that via Karakas. I will probably just end up swordsing that, though. File goes up. I don't believe that I have to swords at sorcery speed. I think I can wait on that. I do not believe that I want my opponent to be able to wasteland me. I'm going to pass the turn here. I have a couple of different options. I can flash in a Phelia. I can cast swords. I can cast swords and path. I would like to not cast at sorcery speed. Yeah, there's the wasteland that I'm actively playing around. Because Broadside is a scarier card, so if my opponent flops down a Broadside, I might want to Swords to Plowshares that. So I will let my opponent Legend Rule their Ajani, and then with the Transform trigger on the stack, I will Swords to Plowshares the other one. Now my opponent still has 2 Cat Warrior tokens. My Phelia will hopefully do a good job at cleaning those up. I'm at 18. I can also do something like Stoneforge for Batterskull if I need to. I don't super want to draw additional lands here. I think I'm going to just fetch out a basic Plains. We're not going to Meticulous Archive into the opposing wasteland. File goes up. Now, one of Stoneforge or Phelia gets to be a surprise this game. I think Phelia being a surprise is more important. I am going to have flexibility with always using Path to Exile at the correct time by tapping this way. I'm going to say yes to this. I really only have 2 lands. This might just be a time to pick up a pre-war Formalwear. The Batterskull is not very hard castable, even if I end up Path to Exiling one of my own creatures. I think I'm just going to, get comfy, wiggle my butt in the seat, and settle in for a long game. This also means that I can probably reasonably just trade with a Cat Warrior token and then Phelia the other one. I don't have to make that decision this turn, though. I think it's okay to take 4. It does kind of price my opponent into wastelanding me. Yeah, I don't hate it. Keep the life total high. My opponent does have a fair amount of burn in their deck. Take 2. Guide of Souls is fine. Stoneforge Mystic is less fine. I'm going to let the Guide of Souls trigger happen and see what they find with Stoneforge, because if they go Kaldra, then I need to Path to Exile this. Okay, yeah, so they are going Kaldra. I think that means that I can go ahead and just take out their Stoneforge Mystic, then put in my own Phelia. Phelia is going to get to attack and take out this token. Then I can have a Skyclave Apparition available beyond that. Nice. So, I should do this later, but I'm trying to save seconds of clock because it is going to matter in this match. I'm going to say yes. I will pick up my own Kaldra this time. I'll go to combat. I'll attack with Phelia. Phelia blinks out the token. And at some point, at instant speed, I can nuke something with Skyclave. The Guide of Souls is not currently threatening. I can leave it alone as is. Alright, fantastic. A new Guide of Souls. I don't want my opponent to have 2 of those. One of them is not a problem. The second one gets scary. I can get punished a little bit by something like a Broadside coming down. Wasteland is fine. I think this Vial is now going to 5. Chainsaw. I can get rid of my Phelia. And it does. My opponent will certainly get rev counters this game. We are doing fair combat stuff for sure. Vial to 4. Ganjo is I'm going to say land. I'm not going to think about it too long. So activate, put in Kaldra. This is unfortunately 3 to equip. I don't get to do the thing. But I'm bashing in for 7 of my opponent's 18 life. I think that's fine. So that'll be 11. So I have Solitude coming for the next very relevant creature. I don't think my opponent can currently aggro me out, so they need to control my stuff. They only have 3 mana. And beyond current problems, my opponent needs to win 2 games in 7 minutes. That's tough. Flage is good, but Flage kills my worst creature here. I guess the most interesting thing that it's doing is building rev counters and energy. It is building 2 energy because there's going to be a token entering here as well. Okay, no attack with Guide of Souls. That's fine. This is going to go to 5. Swords is not bad. I think I want 2 different threats. I don't think I'm going to move pre-war Formalwear. If I move to Kaldra and my opponent has Swords to Plowshares, I lose out on a lot. Alright. Rev up that Chainsaw. Cool. And then I will pass with both Solitude and Swords to Plowshares available. Rakos. 4 cards in graveyard. I wonder if it was ever correct for my opponent to block with Guide of Souls instead to put the 5th card into graveyard to attempt to flage. I don't remember whether or not I've shown them Solitude or anything. Surely they suspect it with Vile on 5, though, so maybe not. Broadside. Powerful. This is 2 to equip. 3 to equip. Everything's 3 to equip. Beginning of combat. Activate. Yes. Put in Solitude. Solitude Broadside. Opponent not attacking. I don't think I need to remove this creature. I have 5, 8, 9, 10, 11. I do not have lethal. Yeah, let's just hold Swords to Plowshares for something scarier. Always know, always yield at this point. Wasteland is cool. I could move the pre-war Formalwear to Solitude if I'm concerned about gaining more life. I don't think I am concerned about that, though. Alright, so opponent is going to take 8. We'll rev up the chainsaw a little bit more. Whopping 5 counters on it. I think I take my opponent off of red rather than taking them off of Karakas here. And then I will pass. 2 of these bodies need to not be around next turn. Alright, Ajani is good. That is 2 bodies. This is fine. Anjo is fine. This tramples. So if I move this here, I have 7 trample-y damage. I guess there's still Swords to Plowshares to think about as the last card. I don't think my opponent has it. I think I can just attack as is. Like, I have multiple different tricks that can mess with this combat. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and pass priority here. My opponent is going to attempt to bounce that, at which point I just kill this. Then I keep saving this Swords to Plowshares, and I keep my opponent from making an army of cats. I trade the Solitude for the Cat Warrior token. That's fine. My opponent is at 1. I could reasonably remove Cat Warrior token there. Stoneforge Mystic, sure. Or Lion Sash, sure. Yeah, okay, yeah, we have gotten the GGs. I don't even need to cast this. Oop. So both of these have to be blocked, and the trample kills my opponent here. Meep meep. Notably, we played 2 games here. Those were some incredibly grindy, but very, very good matches. Wouldn't you like to see more Legacy like that? Hopefully Monday's bans accomplish that. Alright, I have an okay hand here. I think I'm going to lead on Flooded Strand rather than Basic Plains. I probably am going to fetch Basic Plains with Flooded Strand rather than a Surveil land, but I want to give more confusion about what deck I am playing, which is why I went with a pile of Flooded Strands in this mana base. That's not good. That one I don't care about. Spirit Guide, Magus of the Moon. Okay. This is significantly less bad for me than I thought. This is a mountain. My opponent has slowed their own deck down greatly. I think I can just fucking get Kaldra and win this game and not disrupt my opponent by playing Thalia. Go Gadget, Stoneforge Mystic. Yes. Kaldra. Pass. That Flooded Strand juke was really fucking good. Because if I just lead on Basic Plains, my opponent probably does not do that same thing. Sure. I'll take 2 from Blood Moon, that's fine. Aether Vial. Aether Vial's okay. Don't know that I'm going to play it. There might be more value in just playing Mother of Runes immediately and getting that online. Protect my shit. Yeah. Yeah. Aldra. 5. Opponent is at 13. I'll take 2 back from Magus, and then after this I don't really have to worry about chip damage for the remainder of the game. The One Ring is not really a problem. Thalia is not bad against the One Ring specifically. I don't know. I think I'm just going to get a Batter Skull, though. Yeah. Would you like to continue to play this game of Magic the Gathering where I have 2 pieces of equipment that you probably cannot remove? You would. I think Flooded Strand won me this game. Bobble's fine. Broadside's very good. However, okay, no attacks from our opponent. I will Stoneforge, put in Batterskull. I think I could very easily just equip Batterskull to Kaldra and hit my opponent. I think I'm just going to attack with both creatures, though. And then Skyclave, something. I could attack with this. I could attack with literally everything if I wanted. Probably push 5, 6, 7 damage. That seems unnecessary. So let's just send these two. All right, opponent's going to take that. Going to 3 life. I think this is fine being a land. I'm going to go bam, bam, bam. I think Skyclave the One Ring. I don't think I want my opponent to draw those extra cards and have more looks at the One Ring. And then I'll send this in as well. This seems pretty safe. Cycle Vexing Bauble. All right, that's good enough for a concession. So Path to Exile is good. The things like Lauren and Kataki are not actually going to answer the One Ring. And I have some flex slot removal that I could do. I could also just Lauren just generically to blow up things like Chrome Mox, Blood Moon. I don't care about too much, but I guess technically could matter for white on some cards. I could Kataki for artifact mana. I could split up. I could Battle of Bywater. I haven't drawn Samwise much this league, huh? Thalia on the draw is probably a little rough. I think that's the cut that I'm going to go with. And I think I'll fill with a split up. It is just a card that has blowout potential written all over it. Sorry, Kataki is sacrifice, not destroy. I guess it technically has text versus the One Ring, but not exciting text. Aether Vial on the draw, Wasteland on the draw. I don't know that I'm excited about that stuff. Would like removal and mana. Okay. I can die to a turn 1 Blood Moon here. But I expect that my opponent has boarded down on that stuff. I think I'm going to keep this one. I get 5 of these. Probably keep the basics just in case Blood Moons are still happening. I am always getting rid of the colorless land. I don't think Meticulous Archive fits into the plan. I think the plan is don't die to Blood Moon or early creatures and figure the rest of the shit out later. Oh, City on 1. Okay, yeah, so that means that Chrome Mox is happening. It's turn 1 Broadside. That's actually not that scary without another creature to go with it. We can easily Swords or Path to deal with that. It's the follow-up play that matters. Chrome Mox, no imprint to throw with Broadside. Aha. So beginning of combat. It's like this Swords to Plowshares answers 2 cards at the same time, since it answers both of those. So you can just wait to play that Chrome Mox post-combat to avoid this exact situation. You're not expecting a 1-mana flash creature that is relevant, right? All right. Unfortunately, it looks like something like the One Ring is about to come down. Pyrogoyf is coming down. That's fine. I'll take 2. So, with another basic here, I can probably just Surveil land off of this and Path to Exile a Pyrogoyf. So do I do it now, or do I take 2 to wait and see if I can hit something better? I think I'll do it now. You may have your mountain. I mean, I'll respond to that. Get Meticulous Archive. I'm going to get rid of that. We'll see what on earth they name with this. Wasteland is reasonable. Stoneforge Mystic. Okay, sure. Make that expensive. I think that's fine. I think I have enough life that I can thin a land from the deck. And I'm going to cast Lauren. I don't think I care about that Disruptor Flute. I don't have a Stoneforge right now, and I have a decent amount of mana. I care about my opponent playing the One Ring. Let's try to keep them off of that. Ooh, we have gotten the concession here. Honestly, we just ran 60% with Death and Taxes. That's so good. Well, that was a stressful league. I'm going to say that was fun as a whole, though. I think when we were playing like the non-combo, non-Underground Sea Psychic Frog stuff, like I felt like I was having fun playing this deck. I will say we did not do a lot with the synergy of this deck over the course of this league. Like there's so much there with Samwise Blink stuff, Caracas bounce Samwise to keep doing the ring tempts you to get a creature to the lower portion. Lower, the higher, I don't know, to the other stages of the ring tempts you, where you start dealing damage and such, or making people sacrifice creatures when they block. We just did not do that stuff, and it was not because I was boarding out Samwise. I don't think I did that too much, but it feels like this deck is just not keeping up with power creep very well. We are getting some better hate cards over time, but those are often independent spells, things like Deafening Silence and Vexing Bauble, that are not directly stapled to creatures. And, you know, if this is the bar for what a very, very good hate bear looks like and a well-designed hate bear looks like, I don't know that we're going to get too many things that push the envelope in that regard. Pre-war Formalwear Fox. This card's very, very good. It got us out of a lot of binds. And I hope I have a chance to play more Death and Taxes in a post-banning world. As far as this exact 60-card build goes, would I recommend it? In the pre-banning world, no. In the post-banning world, this was reasonable. I think how many bans happen impacts how willing I am to play D&T. So, like, if it's just, like, only Psychic Frog going, for example, you know, I don't think that's enough. You know, if 3 to 6 cards end up going, yeah, I'm probably pretty happy playing this deck again. All right, folks. All right, folks, if you need some cards, you know where to go. Promo code ThrabenU will let TOAMagic.com know that I sent you and that they should keep supporting my content. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya.